Good afternoon from Bali, everyone. It's Anifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I thought I would talk about some words that probably many have heard about by now, called emotional intelligence. And some of you might know that years ago I had made a course incorporating emotional intelligence into teaching healthy relationships and even about how to be better healthcare practitioners and providers. And people in general kind of know this term that is being used in hiring tendencies in actually all sorts of jobs today. More people are being tested for emotional intelligence through job applications and resumes than even IQ, so intelligence quotient. But imagine we're combining emotions and intelligence, and I thought that for this video, the first quotation that really came to me that is very appropriate is by Oscar Wilde, and it says, "The emotions of man are stirred more quickly than man's intelligence." The emotions of man are stirred more quickly than man's intelligence. And I suspect we all know this, that if our emotions get stirred up by something, whether exciting or whether the other extreme, we know that we are really often in a space of not being able to think so easily, so clearly. It's now when our emotions are stirred up, it actually colors our perception. And this is why a lot of employment processes these days definitely look at emotional intelligence. And intelligence in terms of academic intelligence is very important too, because we're combining intelligence with emotional intelligence when we are practicing anything that we are learning or experiencing in life even. So even to know how to ride a bike, for example, is an intelligent thing, but the emotional intelligence of, oh, when I fall, I can get back up, that is a certain understanding of, am I doing it because I want to ride this bike, or is it because I'm riding my bike with a bunch of friends and they'll judge me if I don't get back up on the bike? So these are things that can be learned through practicing emotional intelligence, or remembered and consciously applied. And what I thought was so exciting or interesting today, or last few days, or maybe a little while, is that I actually find that Vedic teaching is very much in alignment with emotional intelligence. So when we think of emotional intelligence today, a lot of people link this with Goleman in terms of the author of the book, which is respectfully talking about emotional intelligence from a very wise space. And it's just actually putting it out there into general public, and so much has been shared this way now about emotional intelligence that people are really valuing it. And now that a lot of students recognize that employers are looking at this, many people will take courses to become more aware and understanding about emotional intelligence. And again, this whole idea of emotions are stirred more quickly than intelligence is, we can learn the information now. There's so much information about emotional intelligence. It's wonderful to be able to repeat the words and to share the ideas, but to actually practice from that space is what Vedic tradition has certainly encouraged people to do for quite some time. And I believe that spirituality in all sorts of traditions is doing this, just using different words to share the same idea. But today I thought I would share something that I came across. It was a wonderful writing by K.S. Sivakumar, who is actually, this was in a journal that I just thought was so fantastic because of the fact that these things are being shared all over the world, and there's nothing like coming across this. I wanted to share that this is from PalArch's Journal of Archaeology of Egypt. It's actually Egyptology. So this is the Journal of Archaeology of Egypt, Egyptology, and this author wrote this submission that was clearly published. It's called The Bhagavad Gita's Perception of Emotional Stability as a Skill Set for the New World Order. And again, as I said, that was K.S. Sivakumar. And again, I have no affiliation with this person. I only came across this name and this article when I was ready to create this video today, or for today. And I thought it was such a wonderful writing that I thought I'd share the most central detail that I came across in the article, and you're certainly welcome to look for it or check in with me, write to me if right just under this video on YouTube if you were curious about this article. But this was the conclusion of his findings and his discussion, at least, about this connection between emotional stability and the Bhagavad Gita. And I totally agree with this, and certainly I wrote about some of this in the writings that I have worked on too. So I love this. It says, in conclusion, we may state that the Bhagavad Gita's enlightened perspectives on emotional stability, involving the management of the senses, desire, anger, and the mind, would enhance the skill set of individuals in the New World Order. This would result in the personal development of individuals, thereby positively impacting productivity and effective interpersonal communication in the workplace and society. And this is why businesses and companies are looking so carefully at emotional intelligence. And again, some of it was already, maybe I'll say the root of it, I would link with Bhagavad Gita. And I'm sure that all sorts of traditions have actually talked about this in various forms and still do today. But it was wonderful to see this person writing about this. And I am sure that so much information is out about this now that this is why testing for emotional intelligence has become so central to hiring processes. And it's interesting when we look at this that if it takes more than the emotions, to actually work from space. So let's say if I really love my work, that's an emotion, very important. And Gita talks about love or devotion or that space of working and how it's such a divine grace to work from that space when you love what you're doing, how important that is. Now, is that actually measurable in terms of a test? I wonder. Yet it's the only thing that people have that they can look at today, which gives a certain value to how well does this person care about others, and how aware is this person aware of others, or even cares about others in the workplace that they might be in. And of course, a lot of people can memorize the answers of what is emotional intelligence or how to respond to questions more favorably, looking at it from this perspective. It does not actually mean that the action happens. So today I wanted to make sure that with this information, perhaps you can spend 5 minutes, or a lifetime, I hope, of course, working from this space of not only understanding that there is some connection in terms of Gita's teaching. The reason I'm bringing this up right now is because it connects with the gunas in my perspective, this mind's perspective. Definitely feels that the 3 gunas that I have talked about in my last few videos, or a few videos I have talked about this idea of understanding the nature of nature, and then our nature, and then being aware that everyone else has the same. It's not that if I'm in a very, I'm going to say rajasic, so active mode, that I can look at someone who's in a very slow mode and not understand that they're in a slow mode. Now I can say that objectively, or I can say, oh, that person is so lazy, which is that judgment. And what I find unique about looking at this from Gita perspective, or from a deeper perspective, is that to look at another who is lazy while I am energized and not judge it and just understand it is a very different space than that person should do a little bit more. I mean, even if they only do half as much as I do, that's good. Again, this pushes out of an understanding space and more into a demanding space. Now, of course, employers are in a catch-22 that way because they're also tested for these things. But to practice this in a workplace that we would want some really good productivity is not so easy, because I might have a deadline for tomorrow and I need that the workers that are working for my company are meeting the deadline for tomorrow. And if a person is lazy, and noticeably so too, then I might be more quick to react. And this is again why knowing ourselves and knowing where we are in any moment can bring out the best of ourselves. Not knowing the other. I can understand that person is lazy unless I link it with, what do I understand about me? So I understand, okay, I'm in this active mode. To understand and think that, and not everyone would be in this mode, is very different than, and everyone should be in this mode if we're at work. And I can tell you for years, I would definitely work for more that space, that, well, where I'm at least at work, one should be with this energy, is a not as compassionate space. And yes, we would want productivity, but productivity that comes from a loving space is very different than productivity that comes from a pressured space or a stress-centered space, which many employees get into because of those demands on an employer. Now, let's say a person is working alone. Unless you are focused in on yourself of what is the space that I'm in, we can't give the best of ourselves to another. So if the space that I'm in is in a stressed space, and I'm in a judgmental space, and I'm in a hurried space, and I do have a deadline tomorrow, unless I recognize that, even when I'm asking the exact same thing from an employer, or employee I should say, or an employer, I might need some help and anything. If I'm speaking to another coworker and I'm asking for something, the energy with which I ask from is very different based on the space that I'm coming from. And remembering that the space that I'm coming from is going to color both my perception of the other and my perception of myself, and then will color how my words come out, how my thoughts are thinking enough to express my words, thoughts in words. This idea of being mindfully aware of, my thoughts are here, my words are going to come from here too. Now I can say, I'm angry because that person hasn't worked all week. I've seen them lazing around. I've seen them taking naps on the job. And even still, have I taken time to understand that person? And have I taken time to understand that today might not be a good day for me to speak to that person because I've just had some road rage experience on the road before I got to work. All of this takes only a moment to think about. Yet we always think, I don't have time for that. I just, if this happens, I respond. But usually people are not responding, they're reacting, and reacting with judgment and demand. So this is the right way to do things, is how often people will speak with each other. And this is what I'd really like for both employers and employees to understand today, that coming from a space that is not at ease, unless we're aware of what is in our mind and what's in the back of our mind, we will express something that may be not so kind. We think that, well, if I'm the boss and my employee is not working, I'm not going to be very kind. That's a conscious decision. If I'm in a not so comfortable space and my employee is not working up to par, I can still speak from kindness. And when I speak from kindness, it's knowing that even speaking from anger at a person who is not doing the work that I would expect of them is not going to bring out the best work from that person. And this understanding is so important. So whether we think of employers and employees, or we think of parent to child, sibling to sibling, friend to friend, if we know where we are working from and we are compassionate towards the space that others are working from, the best of us meets the best of them and produces the best results all around. So I wanted to make sure that today, if you're able to practice from this space, because again, reading it, hearing it, learning it, even being able to share it is not the same as actually practicing it. And today I'd love for you to see if you can find a moment or an experience that you can practice this in, where you notice your mind actually wants to go into judgment or reaction or emotion, and then recognizing that's so easy to get into. Let me calm the space and see, what space am I responding from right now, and work from that space. I believe that it would help yourself, would help the person you're speaking with or people that you're speaking with, and certainly will help the world around us too from an energetic perspective, which is very, very powerful. And I wanted to finish with this wonderful quote by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I think I said that name right. It says it takes something more than intelligence to act intelligently. It takes something more than intelligence to act intelligently. And I would put it to you that that is a divine grace, that is wisdom, that is truth, that is compassion, and all of that are in a space that is more than intelligence. I wish you a fantastic day ahead, thinking and working and acting out of a space of love, of grace, of wisdom, of peace, and of truth. I wish you a great day ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day or night, everyone.